Hey everybody, I'm trying to get everybody into the room right now. The show is live right now, so I'm trying to figure out why some of you all can't seem to get in the room. I'm hoping I can figure this out. If not, we're gonna have to plan something else. We'll have to see what we can do. Give me just a second. Let me work on this and see if we can't figure out what's going on. Sometimes there's a time delay in terms of the feed and what we're doing, so that might be it. But I'm going to disappear from the screen right now and I will figure out what's going on. We figured out what the problem was.
Okay, okay.
All right, so Daniel, I'm gonna put you backstage, and I'm gonna jump backstage again because I got to give this link out to everybody else because I think that that's the problem.
Okay.
So, give me just a second. I'll be right back. Okay.
All right, very good.
Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us today. Today's a special day. We are doing our Leverage Up conference, and last night we had a ball. I mean, we just showed up and showed out and had a fun time, got to know each other. A lot of the VIPs were there. I mean, what a special moment this was. And my boy Daniel's on screen with us today. So good to see you, Daniel. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great. I am doing great, Coach. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Well, it looks like it's going to be you and I leading the show this today. There's a couple people online on stage. They're backstage and can't be seen, but
Okay.
we're going to have a discussion. And the discussion today is about leverage. Leverage, leverage, leverage. What is leverage and why is leverage important? And we're going to be talking a lot about that. We're not going to be all day today. We're gonna try to cut this short. And when the conversation peters out, that's when we will end.
Okay.
Okay,
No
so
problem.
that's about that. So what I'll be doing throughout the course of the morning is I'll be posting um, tidbits of information and thoughts and ideas about leverage, and then we're just going to beat them up for discussion. And as we move along, we'll get through the entire leverage up kind of thought process that I put together kind of years ago. But I think it's important and even more important today to add some uh, concepts or ideas that are terms of and facing us today that are super
Okay.
super important. So the first thing I want to do is talk about the power of leverage, and so I'm going to post a bit of language here that's going to help people who will watch this later kind of see what we're talking about and how this is going to work. So let me see if I can't post this in the chat. Look at that. God loves a chill forgiver. Okay, so let's talk about the power of leverage. When you think about leverage, what is it? I mean, if you wake up tomorrow morning and you find yourself with this massive boost of energy, of capacity, capability, and you kind of see that your confidence is at an all-time high. Picture yourself in a meeting with a group of friends, a group of projects, where you're doing or whatever you're working on, and if there were a tool that you could instantly elevate the quality of your operations and accelerate your success across the board, what would that tool be? The good news is the tool we already know. The tool is leverage. Leverage is a sacred force. I mean, it is an opportunity for you to be a multiplier, to really make sure that behind every breakthrough and everything you do, there's more and more opportunity throughout life, throughout business, everything you want to do. It boosts your capacity. It helps you picture yourself stepping into a more credible and meaningful space in terms of kind of everything you want to do. And so when you look at leverage, by definition, it is the strategic use of any resource, time, talent, or treasure to generate more power, more influence, and more control with less effort. If you want to be more, get more, achieve more, you must master leverage. You must learn how to identify it, shape it, and combine resources in a way that creates unstoppable momentum. Now, I love this definition. I love this definition because what we need more than anything else, especially when we are solo players in our organizations and our units, and even if we are with others and we have a team and all that kind of good stuff, we still have to know how and when to leverage. How do we create leverage and how do we use leverage? And there are three key elements to leverage that I want to talk about this morning and I want to share with you all this morning. And I want to discuss with you all this morning. But before we do that, which are time, talent, and treasure, before we get into those kind of boxes for leverage, I kind of want to think. I want to beat Daniel up for a second and get your thoughts on when you think about leverage. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your business? What does it mean to the people that you get to deal with on a regular, consistent basis? Any thoughts, Daniel?
Oh no, this is such a great topic, and it's so focused on what really makes a business successful. And you can really tell when someone I'm in the lending business, And one of the things that we, as lenders, we talk about is, man, if they would have just came to us earlier, we would have been able to get them so much money, with so much more money, with so much better terms. But people will wait until the very last minute, and now they're dealing with people maybe that they don't like. They get an interest rate that's too high, and the terms are too long. So while your business is doing great, that is the best time to seek out funding, because everything is in place. You have all the leverage that you need. And now we can get you $1 million line of credit that you can use whenever you want to. So now, moving into the future, if you see a project that you want to move on, you know you have the instruments already in place to do so. So you're being proactive instead of reactive. So leverage is number one in the lending game. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
I think most people would agree. When you look at what leverage is, you know, there, like I said earlier, there's kind of three resources that you want to share with people. You want to make sure that people understand that it's more than just money that we're talking about here. We're
Right.
talking about time. We're talking about the multiplier of talent, and we're talking about the multiplier of anything that you consider valuable. Every resource that you have can be leveraged. And when you think about it, what resources do you have? Well, those are your basic core resources: time, talent, and treasure. And the beauty of leverage is it doesn't need to use resources as much as it can create resources. We think of the things that we do, our abilities, our talent, as expendable, sort of like we could work ourselves out of it, or kind of give it all away, or share it all, or contribute it all. But the good thing about leverage resources is
Right.
those resources create more resources that you then can create more leverage with. It requires a mindset, it requires a skill, to use this tool in a way. But what I love about leverage is that anything that you could use that inspires and intensifies, more activity, more opportunity, more greatness, or whatever it is that you feel like you're about. Um, and we lose it every day, sometimes intentionally, often by accident. But if you look around your environment, every system, every experience is a result of someone leveraging resources to create more value. And there isn't, I don't think, we're going to get into some details, but I think that's the key to it for me, is understanding that it's about creating more value. It's about finding the mechanisms, the tools, the strategy, the techniques, the motivation, whatever it is that you need to create and generate more and more and more and more. That's what leverage is all about, in my mind. Um, Anything to add there, Daniel? Or we want to keep the party going?
Nope, that's good. I mean, that's, again, that I totally agree with that. Is that anytime that you're able to use any of your tools to forecast, because that's all it is you're saying, I have to make sure that I'm making the best use of my time. So if I'm able to push this tool at this time, I know I'm going to 10x my results. So no, 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's break it down. First level, time. We talk about time. What are we really saying? Um, and what does this really mean? The first and most fragile resource that any of us have to leverage is time. Your time and others' time. When people are aligned, when they are prepared, when they are fully committed, it makes it so much easier to get this done. But here's the problem: divided attention steps in. People are distracted. People um, don't know how to prioritize, or people find themselves in situations where, you know, they're easily taken off task. for whatever reason, whether you're doom scrolling on your phone or, you know, TV's playing in the background or something is, coming at you, right? Um, you get distracted. But the thing you have to kind of understand
Right.
is the more you're able to focus, the more you're able to allow get your team focused. There's reasons why I remember when I was a kid, just growing up and going to the library, right? What you have to be quiet. What you have to do in the library, you have to be quiet in the library. You shouldn't just go in the library and start playing around, making noise. We weren't playing football in the library, which is why a lot of people didn't go to the library
Right.
because you couldn't be active and running around and engaged and so on and so on and so forth. But the people who did go to the library and then
Right.
sat there and actually read the books, became the most intelligent people because they're able to train their mind to focus. They're able to discipline themselves to focus. And they started at an early age. Now, what do you think happens when you never learn that discipline? When you never um, get the opportunity to focus? Now, studies show that about 20% of our population has ADD or ADHD. What does that mean? Um, that's the really an inability to have really good short-term memory and executive function. Executive function is that high level of focus where, and I don't want to get too neurological on you, but it's when your frontal lobe or the part of your brain that really, really generates and creates more thought, deeper meaning, it doesn't engage because you really haven't you don't have that ability. Your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain works not as in a focused way, but it works in a
Right.
disparate way, meaning it scatters and it's very difficult for you, a person who has ADD or ADHD, to focus for especially for long periods of time. They could focus for maybe a couple seconds, but for long periods of time, then that's bad. Now think about it. If you can't focus long enough to even put stuff in your memory, then you have no recall of what you just
Right.
read, what you just understood, how you just did it, and so on and so forth. So you need others to kind of help you stay on track, whatever that track is, because you're not likely to do it on your own. You're not likely to, and I'm not talking about mental capacity because it's not a capacity issue because a lot of people who have ADD are very bright. But it is a problem in terms of learning how to control and learning how to um, create enough energy and enough wisdom that they have something they could stack on. So they have to make lists, lots of lists, to write everything down because that helps them recall and remember what it is they're supposed to be doing, what it is they're supposed to be doing. They live by systems that they create, and people are highly successful.
Right.
And but it just depends on their ability to create a system. But if it never even got diagnosed, that's even more difficult to do. And 20% of us are running around here. We have ADD and we're
Right.
not diagnosed. Nobody even knows, especially in the poorer or disadvantaged sections of the world. So sometimes I know, Daniel, you experience this. You'll bump into somebody and you say, "This is simple. Why can't you just get this done?" That we're trying to do here. This is very simple stuff,
Right.
but often it's because of their inability. They have an inability to focus long enough to get even what
Right.
we would consider simple things done,
To get it done.
right? But they do have the ability to do the things that they're super passionate about. They have that
Right.
ability to focus and really, really do the things that they're already super passionate about. They care about it, they can focus on it. If they don't care about it, it's not going to happen. I only know this because I'm a
Right.
certified ADHD coach, right? So I have did the
Okay.
practice and did the studies and taking all the tests and all that kind of stuff and made myself available. I see my girl Sandra's in the room. Thank you very much for coming through, Sandra. When you are on camera, we'll introduce you and let you in the room. Right now, Daniel and I are talking about time, and we're talking about time as a resource and making sure that we understand how valuable it is, right? Because if you don't spend the time, and we're talking about focusing right now, but if you don't spend the time that you need to spend in focusing on the things that you need to focus on, then you can't build on and you create more resources because of that. That's what we talked about, leverage, right? So how you leverage time, and you have to use other people, and the more people you use, the more people you gather, the more people you can uh, have moving in the same direction, the more energy you produce around anything, even if it's just we're working on a task together. Um, the Bible has an example, and they say, one strand of rope is weak, but three are strong. And that's not a direct quote, obviously. I'm paraphrasing. But if you think about it,
Right.
that's how we as people are. That was the parable that the Bible uses to let us know that we're stronger together than we are apart. It's easier to be alone with your ideas and your thoughts, and because nobody can disappoint you, right? But it is always, if you need to leverage, right, you need other people. You need other people on your advisory council. You need other people to be mentors. You
Right.
need other people to give and share ideas with. You need other people to help you stay focused, and you need other people to focus along with you, because then it grows all their focus and talent and stuff like that when it comes to uh, creating leverage. And so it's a super important thing, because like all resources, when you figure out how to leverage time, it creates more time. And what we want to have in all of our lives is what? Free time. you know, we want to have time to go play, to go golfing, to go play tennis, or for me, it's racquetball. If I could get on the racquetball court, I'm a happy guy on most occasions. But, we want to have free time and time when we don't
Right.
have to do anything. And then the time we do use, we want to have that time be meaningful time, meaning we want our time to be doing something specific, something meaningful, something that's going to be engaging and focused and interactive, right? So we don't want to waste time. That's the last thing we want to do, because we can't get it back. You know, Once we have given up a unit of time, even a minute, like today, it
Right.
took us a little
You
bit of
can't.
time to get this going. We can't get that time back. What's gone is gone. And it's so important that we do exactly what we talked about earlier. You got to be prepared, you got to be thoughtful, and you got to do what you can to bring as many people together as you can that are have the same value system and the same mindset. Because when you get a good group together, a good team together, it's magical. It is literally magical. Um, I've had examples of great teams I've worked on in the past, and it started at a very, very early age. And it shocked me how wonderful we were together. And I'll tell you the quick story as Sandra's getting ready. Um, I was a high school drill team captain. I was in junior ROTC, Air Force Junior ROTC in high school. And I wasn't just a drill team captain, I was the unit commander. So, they called it wing commander. So for the whole wing, I was the whole unit, I was the guy, at least for a half a year. And I remember um, I got that assignment, and I took that assignment because our instructor said to me, he said, Marvin, I know you want to be on the advanced drill team. And I was, had came up through the ranks, and I was a colonel at the time. And Yes, I was on the advanced drill team, and I kind of wanted to do that and stay there. But he said, "Listen, I'm gonna need you to lead. I'm gonna need you to step off the advanced drill team, and I'm gonna need you to lead the freshman team." That's pretty much what it was. The team of freshmen, and teach them drilling ceremonies and all that kind of good stuff. And maybe they'll be ready for competition, maybe not. But it's more important that they learn how to do this. And I want you to do it. And if you do it, I'll let you be wing commander for the second half of the school year. This was senior year. I was like, okay, you're gonna give me the band of misfits. I'm not gonna be able to
Right.
compete with the big boys on the varsity squad, basically. And you're gonna give me the band of misfits, and I'm gonna work with them and see what happens.
Right.
Well, I took them to the state championship, and we beat even our own varsity squad. And was amazing to me because I don't think I did
Wow.
anything as a leader. I think what happened was I happened to pick the right people,
Okay.
and I picked the right people, and they worked together so effortlessly, and they loved it so much. I mean, these are freshmen, so they couldn't drive, right? So they couldn't get themselves to practice and rehearsal and all that kind of stuff. They really had to depend on others because they didn't have licenses, and they you know it was a trick, kind of getting them after school practices and all that kind of stuff. And they were committed and they made it happen. And
Right.
we went ahead and took the state championship that year, and then the national championship in that same year as the best high school drill team in the country. So it was amazing to me. That was my first example of what it takes to be on an amazing team, and what it takes to assemble a team, and then what you have to do to create the team so that the team works seamlessly together. So I love that. I was having a good time with that. Um, where you at, Sandra? What's going on? I see you in the background there, but you're not coming on camera, so I don't know what's going on. Send me a text message or something. Let me know what we're doing here. Anyway, you ever been on any teams? Any great teams, Daniel? You ever had any great teamwork experience you want to share? Now, we must have a delay in the feed. Did you hear me,
Oh
Daniel?
yeah, we done all kinds of teams. We were. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you just fine. I'm sorry.
Are you able to hear me, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
No worries. No worries. Oh yeah, been part of teams all my life. Very competitive. Very competitive basketball team, baseball teams. Obviously United States military, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So it's all about great teams. Nokia mobile phones. We were on a team that I was a account manager, took an account from $100 million to over $760 million. So I was a part of a great team in a year that we were able to accomplish that. And it's all about being positive, being around people that enjoy understanding what the mission is, but they with everyone. And that's exactly why I enjoy coming and doing your podcast and having the
I don't
opportunity
know.
to speak with you because you're never saying anything negative. You're always positive. You're always looking. You're identifying a challenge and then finding a solution. So having those types of people in your life, it's just absolutely it's necessary for growth. It's essential for life. So yeah, great teams are important. And because if not, just like you were talking about earlier, you get a silo mentality. You're the only one talking to yourself, so you really don't get a chance to see what's going out in the real world. So getting out, getting involved, seeing what's actually going on, talking to people, it's just I don't know if there's a delay or not.
Yeah, there's some kind of weird delay coming through for me too. I don't know what that means and how it's going to translate into the ultimate video when this is all said and done. But we may have to edit it and cut out a couple pieces. But I
Right.
heard exactly what everything you were saying about being on positive teams and being on great opportunities. So Just going to keep the party going. There's a couple things that leaders really have to ask themselves when it comes to time and what time means to them and how they want to move forward. And I think questions you got to ask is, you know, do I have time to honor my commitments to myself and to others? Am I operating at maximum efficiency, or do I need additional resources? How do I maximize what I already have? And what am I doing right now that doesn't serve my ultimate goal?
Right.
Are my priorities clear to everyone involved? And have I communicated my mission and values to the people who can help? The last and most important question is, do I have, or do I know how to create the synergy between time, talent, and treasure in a way that's most useful for me? These are very, very easy questions to ask, complicated questions to answer. But I think good leaders spend a good amount of time, and I would say every single week, probably on Saturday or Sunday morning, I do this. I go through my goals, I go through my strategies, I look at my ideas and concepts, and I ask myself questions like these that help me reflect. And then I will journal, sort of my thoughts at the time. And I found out over the years, even if I'm working on the same thing, my ideas change throughout the year, as I'm going through, because I'm growing and I'm learning more
Right.
and I'm applying different levels of energy to it. And I'm getting more contextualized. And what I mean by that is whatever's happening around me is affecting, how I'm thinking about the same thing right now. And when I go back and look at my journal and look at the resources and things that I've put through over the years, I see the growth and I see the change. Now, what's important about that is not just I'm getting better at managing my time and working better with the time of others in a more efficient way. I'm getting more efficient, but I'm also getting more effective. And there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is a unit or sort of a management type of strategy, right? Where you want to streamline and you want to make sure that things are happening in a speed or at a pace that makes a difference, that creates more value, right? But effectiveness is about that emotional content, right? That's that feeling of meaning and significance. And I teach, my students or my clients a lot on meaning and the power of meaning, the power of being significant, being relevant. And I even give it a name, call it that. Everybody's looking for their MRS degree, right? Their Mrs. degree, MRS, meaning, relevance, and significance, you know. And I guess that as I get older, that's becoming more important to me. When I was younger, I didn't really care about it so much. But now that I'm getting some gray hairs popping up all over the place, you know, I don't want to do anything that's not meaningful, that's not relevant, that's not, significant. And what that means is I have to ask myself every day if I'm going to go and even go to the grocery store, is this the best use of my time? Can I just put an online order in and have it brought to me at a time that's convenient to me, when I'm ready to do one, and I could take my energies and efforts and do something else. You know, I can get cheap gas, like maybe 15 miles from my house right now, much cheaper than I can
Right.
get it anywhere else because that's a certain gas station that does it. But now I got to drive that many miles out of my way just to go get cheap
Okay.
gas, right? So that's a unit of time that I'm expending to go get cheap gas. And I got to ask myself, is the return on investment worth it? Is the price I'm going to pay for the gas, which clearly is cheaper, worth me going out of my way to go get the gas? Because the time I'm giving up, and full disclosure, I make about $300 an hour, right? And I'm always measuring that against, okay, is this a meaningful use of my time? Or I could be working with a client making
No, it's not.
$300 an hour. you know, so but these things,
Right.
you know, but now you got to juxtapose that. If it feels good to take that drive, listen to a little music, and go get that cheap gas and take a moment or take a break, just because might not need it, that might be worth it, right? So
Right.
you got to measure your time, not just with efficiency, but with effectiveness. What is creating meaning? What is creating significance? What's creating relevance in your space? Any thoughts on that, Daniel?
That is the biggest. As a business owner, you're trying to balance your time because, as you said, you're one person. You're trying to get it done, and you're making that decision every day. Do I want to wash my car, or do I want to pay someone to do it? Do I want to go out to have lunch, or do I want to have it delivered? Because it's just one of you, and you're trying to get it done. And until you get that office manager that you can leverage to do some of the things that you would take, some fighting that. They said that if Bill Gates dropped $100 on the ground, he would be losing money to turn around and pick it up.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the goal. That's all of our goals, is just to make sure that we're not slack off and prosperous.
Think your earpiece
You
is
can't hear
causing
me?
us a little. I think your earpiece is causing a little hiccup in the system. I don't know if you can work without it and not be distracted. Because mine is a plug-in, so I'm not wireless on the earpiece, so I'm not worrying about an extra kind of thing going on. But you were breaking up when you're speaking. I don't know if
Right.
I am. Am I breaking up when I'm speaking, or is it just you?
Okay, let's try this. You're breaking up also.
I am. Okay,
Let's
so
see
this not
here.
your earpiece. Then it's got to be something in the internet
Oh,
connection.
can you hear me now?
Oh, you're coming through loud,
Can you hear it
much
all?
louder.
I,
Yeah,
much louder? Okay,
yeah.
let's do that then. Don't need to get turbulence if we don't have to have it. So
Oh man, that's
I'm just
great.
this is
That's
my
great,
brand new
great sound
office.
quality.
So this was my virgin launch. So I'm trying to get all the lighting to be working correctly and all that other good stuff.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
Well, I
100%.
guess I need to
This,
still use it for my headphones. So
this tech stuff, man, is all over the
I'll
place
have it.
when it comes to.
I'll definitely have it 100% on our next meeting. But no, time limits. Yeah, you have to use it right. You absolutely have to use it right. You absolutely have to. It's a must. It's a
And
must.
you
But you
can't
also
opt
have to
out.
carve out time to be the husband, the dad, the friend, all of that other stuff, because you don't want everything to be 100% business. So
Yes, yes, yes. I have a very good client and a friend of mine um, that um, is experiencing dramatic success in their business right now. And he reminded me that there's opportunity cost everywhere because that dramatic success is causing them a lot of other problems, that he wasn't aware of, because this tremendous success. is sort of a shock to their entire his entire ecosystem, right? Because now he can do things that he couldn't do before, and
Right.
he saw this coming, but nobody around him actually saw this coming. And so the family has to go, oh, wait a
Okay.
minute.
Okay.
We're doing this new stuff. Oh, this is even possible. This is a shock to the system. And you would think it would be a pleasant shock that people go like, wow, we have these opportunities and we have these moments and
Right.
we can be doing this stuff. But now they're like, well, no, I don't really want to. This is not what I'm interested in. This is not who I want to be. And you got that's things because and this is why I try to tell everybody, stay close to your people as you are moving through, as you are rising through things, and don't just kind of ignore them thinking you can fix it later when it comes to relationships, because you can't. Again, it's time. One of the best things I
Right.
ever learned from Dr. Stephen Covey is he said that quality time is found inside of quantity time. And what he meant by that was literally everything we do requires a modicum of time that we must share with other people. But if that time
Okay.
is not, but the magic time is the quality time. Unfortunately, we can't manufacture quality time. We don't know when that moment is going to come that our kid is going to say something to us that, creates a memory that would not, if we were just sitting around watching TV, and it's what we do on Saturday morning. We sit around, we watch TV together, whatever that is. And then, but sometimes somebody says something or does something that is kind of funny or interesting or really, really, and that creates the memory that you continue to talk about year after year after year after year after year after year after year. And you never get away. But guess what? If you weren't doing that every Saturday morning thing,
Right.
whatever the ritual is, whatever the thing is that you do, whether it's having dinner or going out and whatever you do, right? Then you wouldn't have found that magic moment. That's the quality moment. The quality time comes when somebody says something or does something unpredictable and it was hilarious or very interesting or whatever, and you find that moment. I have moments when my daughter was growing up, and she would say or do something that we thought my wife and I thought was just so precious, right? But if we hadn't been there, those moments would have
Right.
happened, but we wouldn't have been there for those moments. That's the thing. And so the point of that story is, even in leveraging your time, you have to um, not look for quality time, look for quantity time with people, because quantity regular, that's why people always say you gotta have date night, you gotta have time with your family that you don't disrupt and you don't allow anything to integrate into that time, because if you
Yeah.
do, then you make sacrifices necessarily with people that you don't want to make sacrifices with. Hey, look at that. She made it. Thank you so much for coming on board this morning. Daniel and I
Okay.
are talking about time. I think you may have heard some of the stuff
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Good
We're talking about
morning, Daniel.
good,
Good morning, Coach.
good morning. Good
Good morning.
morning.
Good morning.
How you guys feeling?
We're excited. We're excited. We're good to go, ready to rock and roll. We started out talking about leveraging time, and
Yeah.
now we're going to start talking about moving into the next portion, which is um, leveraging talent. And then we're going to take a small break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to finish up talking about leveraging treasure. And we may have some other special things that we'll do, but we're going to call it a short morning, because the brother's tired. I just I got to be honest. I did the most for the last
Oh,
3 weeks, and I am tapped out.
oh yeah.
so, so,
No, I
so,
understand.
but we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Th- in, Dr. Marie, is there any ideas or thoughts you want to share about time and how we leverage it?
Yeah, I think you guys hit it on the nail as far as with time, you get more time if you can leverage time correctly. And I don't think I've ever heard that mentioned in that way because time has always been like this most valuable resource that a human being has, right? Because we don't control, that's the one thing we can't control. But if we're able to leverage time, we can get more time. And the only other way I think I've seen that closely in parallel is like if you have resources like money, as I feel like business owners have found that kind of secret because a business owner is creating an opportunity. So when they can hire 10 people for their time, they're essentially getting 10x for what they could do. So that's kind of like how I've seen it. But I think you're going beyond that, not just the ability to, be able to employ someone and utilize their time. But at the same time, isn't that not like stealing somebody else's time? But I guess there's an exchange. If they're
And
willing
that's
to pay you, if someone's willing to pay me X amount of dollars for my time, then it talks about like then that's what I value my time, the worth of my time. So I don't know. I have to kind of like, let me think about that a little bit.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, but
We find this is just economics, right? It's if you think about it, and this you bring this up, and just so eloquently you thought this, but in economics we understand that it's impossible to pay people what they're worth.
okay.
It's literally impossible.
Mhm.
If you try to pay people what they were actually worth to you in return, as an entrepreneur business owner, you would have no more profit. Because if you paid, if you were like, if this was fair and equal, this business thing, right? And you tried to work with people,
So
you
paying your
wanted to
employees
pay them,
100% of actually work.
yeah, exactly. And so it doesn't work in terms of monetary value,
Right.
but there's other value that working with them or you working with them and them working together creates and generates that is excessively and more
Mm-hmm.
than what you pay them. Because, and we're going to talk about those other things in the next part of the meeting. But I want you to guys remember that because it is true that people are overworked and underpaid. That is a fact in terms of just money. But it doesn't have to be true in terms of the other things that we're going to talk about today in terms of leverage, in terms of talent, and in terms of treasure. There's so much more created when people come together, they work together and they collaborate and they create and they synergize around things correctly. And Sandra brought that correctness to it, right? It's about doing it correctly, right? And there's uh, a sort of righteousness in that thought process. What is right to do. So you want to pay people, obviously what you can pay them and still remain profitable, right? But you also get to pay them in so many other ways than just financial ways. And we'll talk about that in just a second.
Right.
Um, you guys want to take a break, or do you want to go right into talent?
I just got here. I don't have a vote.
Okay. How about what do you think, Daniel? I think the screen is frozen. I don't know
Yeah, I
what's
think we
going
need to
on.
kind of reset the system here.
Okay.
Okay.
Because we're
Let's
getting a
give it
little lag. And
let's give it 5 minutes and then we'll come back.
Okay.
yeah, I think we set this thing.
Okay. So I'll
Sounds
I'll
good.
I'll put the music back on and all that, put all of us backstage.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, all right, all right. Let's get the party going. I got my coffee. I got my water. Loaded up the talk for next. Yes, yes, yes. We are locked and loaded and ready to go.
Okay.
We turn this music off. We can get this party going. Everybody got your coffee, got your water, got your juicy juices and all that stuff you need to have.
Yes.
Yes.
So now I did a study yesterday. This is just a side. I did a little study yesterday on the importance of uh, hydration.
Okay.
And I have been playing this game, that you shouldn't drink like after 6 o'clock in the evening because you'll just be up, going to bed, going to the bathroom all night long.
Mhm.
Because that's what old people do. They stop drinking after a certain period of time because they want to be able to get some sleep. But then I read this study and they said this is the worst thing you can do for your heart because you need hydration even in the evening because your body tends to be dehydrated at nighttime anyway. And so you probably should keep drinking all the way up until the time you go to sleep. And I'm like, man, you think you're doing one good thing and you end up doing something else that's dangerous because your blood kind of slows down naturally at night anyway. Your blood flow slows down naturally at night, and your heart rate slows down naturally at night. And it's super important that you stay hydrated to allow your blood to do what it needs to do during the evening, so that you not don't have thick blood. You have like what do they call it, hydrated blood. Anyway, so I thought I like that was fascinating. I was like, man, the more I think I know, the more I know that I don't know a whole lot of stuff. But thanks to AI and Copilot and all kinds of stuff, well, I'm moving in hyper speed in terms of what I get to do and what I get to know and all kinds of stuff. So I'm having a good time with that. Um, just as a side note, while you all getting yourself, kind of prepared, and I'm getting myself prepared. Let's talk about talent. The next part of the T3 framework was time, talent, and treasure. We're going to talk about talent right now. When it comes to leveraging talent, what we discovered is like talent is the engine of high performance. And, there is no place that I've gone and landed or thought about or been a part of where performance isn't critical. Talent is the natural or developed aptitude that brings meaning and value to almost any endeavor you can think of. Everything you want to do, everything you want to be requires talent. Every person, and this is a core belief of mine, carries a unique blend of genius, of gifting, of capacity, and style. All of these things are critical to their ability to express their talent. And when these things are aligned, when you have genius, gifting, capacity, and style all working together, any
Right.
role that you play anything that you do is brought up several notches, and they come together to create what we now think of as high performance. So I'm sure you've bumped into many a talented individual in your life and in the things that you have had the importance to do. And I'm sure you yourselves have been called out, set aside, honored, respected, and appreciated for the talents and the gifts that you might bring to the table for yourself and with other people. I know for a fact, for example, I gave an example earlier of how I was shocked at how my drill team was able to win the state and national championships, even as a freshman crew, in high school. And I don't think it had anything to do with my leadership ability at that time because I was a baby leader. I think it had a lot to do with how all of those things came together. It was the people that I picked. It was how they worked together and inspired one another. It was how we overcame challenges together and created even more energy around the fact that we can remember the challenges that we overcame. We don't have like reunions or get-togethers or anything like that. But I would imagine if we would, what would we talk about? We would talk about that experience and not just as a, oh my God, we won. Like, oh, we remember when this happened and this happened and somebody's uniform didn't look right, so we had to make sure that they did this, and somebody's shoes weren't shined polished correct, and we had to make sure we covered for that, and somebody got dinged for this, that, and the other, and we had to make sure that we compensated for that along the way. And so that whole experience was an experience of failure and overcoming obstacles with a talented team who was committed to the process, committed to the strategy, and committed to one another. And I think together,
Hmm.
all of that stuff was what created the win. I mean, my team knew that I was on the varsity squad, and I stepped off the varsity squad to lead them, and nobody else would. So, because he knew the inside story, that made me even more
Right.
valuable to them. And then it made me because I saw an opportunity once we started working together. I wasn't upset about it or sad about it. Once we started working together, I was like, well, I got to give these youngsters my best. They deserve nothing less. And whatever my best was at the time, I brought it, you know, um, and they responded. So it wasn't just a me thing, it was a collective thing, and everybody played a part
Right.
in that situation. And I'm sure, like I said, you guys have been called upon in your life for the gifts and talents that you bring to the table. But when we talk about leveraging those gifts and talents, it's how you share those gifts and talents that create the opportunities. Because we won the national championship, each one of my members of my team actually went on later on to become the next crew of leaders in our whole wing because they were getting that exposure, they were getting that spotlight, they were getting that people were looking at them differently. They weren't just little freshmen anymore. They brought the championship back to the high school, and everybody knew it. I could see them walking around in the hallways afterwards. They had a little swagger, They were like, "Yeah, we win. That's what we do. Yeah, yeah." I mean, we're talking about freshmen here, and they acting like, they did they and of course the varsity squad was not excited about that. They they weren't excited that the freshmen outdid them, you know. But they were,
Outbid them,
and I
right?
and I would try to help sort of contain the hysteria from it, but I couldn't because they were so new that they were like, we don't care. We don't care if they feel bad. We gonna celebrate. We gonna party. We gonna do whatever. And I was trying to, like, because I got colleagues at the senior level that were like, you know, y'all don't have to rub it in our face, you know. And and it kind of looked like I was being set up for failure, but we use it as an opportunity to win. That's leverage of talent. Does that make sense? Okay. Um, so we're gonna move on, and I want you to think about
Yeah.
the times when you've been kind of elevated and what that did in order to create even more opportunities for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but before we do that, can I beg to differ with you about a point you made?
Sure.
Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, so you made this point about that it wasn't
Hmm.
you, and I beg to differ. Because one of the things you said was you came in there with when
Hmm.
you were asked to come into that position, one
Mhm.
of the things that they understood was here's this varsity who we look up to the varsity,
Mhm.
like this one guy is coming to actually show us. So that already had respect. But you had the option. You have two options. You had one option to come in here, one be upset that you weren't on the varsity team, like at a certain level, and you could came down here and said, "I'm in charge. Y'all gonna do it my way." So when you talk about how they were walking in the halls and how they had like their chest up and just very proud of themselves, they were just reflecting the leadership that they received, right? That like it's because your attitude, you came in there like, I'm going to give them my all. I'm going to give them everything. So you didn't come in there like, you guys are beneath me. You came in there like, I'm going to make y'all the best I can be. Not even with the hopes of taking them to national, but just the best that they can be at their level. And when you don't put a ceiling on somebody like that, you don't cap them, right? So it was your attitude that equaled, they say that catchphrase, your attitude equals your altitude. And that to me, when you tell a story about them going all the way and them just being freshmen, I think you say that they were just freshmen, but I think you bringing that leadership, again, we're talking about talents, that was a skill set that you brought. And I think attitude is a skill set. How you come into a situation, no matter what happened, you could have took the conversation with your coach as negative, they're pulling me from the team, I gotta go babysit these individuals, like I'm not a fresh, that's beneath me, like I'm on the varsity team. You didn't have any of that. You said, all right, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna give them all that I have, I'm gonna show them everything that I can do. Now maybe it was for other reasons so the coach can see like how great of a leader you were, but at the end of the day, you really gave those individuals, like you said, if you were to sit and meet and talk with them now, you taught them how to deal with situations that, like, you just gave them that guidance. So, like, how we dealt with polishing our, how we got dinged for this, Mark, how we, like, they learned, and what they get to now do going forward, like you said, they all ended up from that particular subset, ended up getting into these leadership positions because you empowered them to do that, right?
For
And I
sure.
think it all came down with your skill set of having that attitude of I'm gonna give them the opportunity to be their very best because I'm gonna give them my very best. And I think if a lot more leaders saw it from that perspective, we would have a lot more people doing really good things. So I just wanted to, argue that point with you. You made that point. You said it wasn't because of me. Yeah, right.
So I'm gonna walk it like I talk it in this
Thank
regard,
you.
because
Thank you.
I often say to people, when people give you compliments, learn how to receive them. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to receive that.
Right.
I'm going to receive that graciously. Thank you so much. And you're probably right.
I am.
Um, in my and this is a fault of a lot of leaders. Sometimes in the our need to be humble, we often don't see and we often downplay our own greatness. And it takes that, and that's why others are important, because it takes others to show up and remind us that no, just this you made a major impact, not a minor
Mm-hmm.
one. 'Cause that's what she was saying. So she said, I made a major impact, not a minor one. And she's absolutely right. Not probably right, absolutely right. Because the feedback I get even years later, as I bump into these kids in different places. I mean, they're not kids anymore. We're all grown adults, right? But I bump into them in different places and spaces on social media and so on and so forth. And we always end up having these conversations about these moments that we shared together. And they're like my battle buddies, from, years later, as I grow deeper and I experience more meaningful interactions on my line brothers. These are people that we've gone through some stuff together, even if it was as a young age. you know um it elevated all of our skills,
Yeah, and they
not
also
just
build
theirs.
that trust with you. That trust
Right.
that they trust. It's like when you empower someone, it's like you're exchanging trust, in my personal opinion. Um, that a lot of times, I think this is why being a coach and a mentor is so valuable, because you're telling someone who doesn't see the light in themselves yet that you see it, and it's okay to shine and let your light shine. And most people see the light in people and try to dim it. And so I think a great mentor is so like that, empowering is like lighting that spark and allowing it to get bigger, not diminishing it so it can't shine, right? And so I think that, like, now for years, like, people can't say it, they don't know how to say it, where it's just like the reason why I enjoy being around someone is because I feel like I'm able to just like be lit, right? And I
Right.
know the kids use that terminology these days, oh, it's lit, but I think that's just what it is, like that fire inside of you to be passionate and be yourself. Who doesn't want to be around that years to come, like, why would I want to be around
Right.
someone who every time I come around they're trying to dim my light, and I'm just trying to exist in the world? But yeah, I want to be around more people who are just like, yeah, just be you, just exist and be your greatness, whatever that is. That's just so powerful.
That's why I always tell people, it's important to, when we in the back in the old days, we would say establish or find your tribe, right? Because that's what the tribe can do for you. They can give you that gift of feedback that you couldn't get from people who didn't love you, who didn't care for you, who didn't want to see you elevated. Um, in today's
Mm-hmm.
world, it's important for us to
Right.
build that tribe,
Yeah.
by finding and identifying the right mentors. Not one, but several, in several different aspects of the game that we play, whatever game we're playing. So, say that you're looking for referral sources, right? There's a group of people who would make phenomenal referral sources. They're not necessarily clients, right? And so you have to learn how to separate uh, your thoughts and actions that you would work with referral sources differently from those who would work for clients, differently than you would work for those who are investors, differently than you would work for those who might be some other form of stakeholder
Hmm.
in your practice and in your program. And to do that, you also have to be, and Sandra made me aware of this last night at the VIP thing. You also have to be aware of your capacity, right? Because can you chase after high value clients, referral sources, investors, and other kind of supporters at the same time while you're building a team, while you're trying to scale, while you are, all these things are coming at you, but it's all about leveraging talent
Mhm.
because you want to see people in a way that they need to be seen. And you want to support people in a way that that support is not just valuable to you, but valuable to you and them. And that requires a lot more energy than a lot of us are trained to do and experience. We reserve that kind of stuff for church, or we reserve it for our intimate family members. And we try to separate business from that, right? But now, if you're a small business leader or a solopreneur, you can't afford to separate your life like that. That's my point of view. Because every time you do, it ends up coming back and biting you. You push the envelope, I'm going to work, 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 work. And what you sacrifice is your people. So I say build your people, build your people, build your new people, because everybody who's with you now can't be with you in the future. Build the people around you that you need to have with you in the future today so that when you do need them, they're already there. They're already in place. That's your internal network, your mentors, your advisors, your referral sources, your high value clients, and your investors. They all need to be in your inner circle for where you want to go in the future.
Right.
And I know that makes sense to both of you because I'm working on with those things with both of you. you know, and I know it's tough, you know, because you're talking about building your future, advisory board before you need them
Right.
and putting energy and effort into that when your natural thought is, I should put energy and effort into the business right now, and but that is the energy and effort that's going to sustain your business in the future. And it's the difference between long term and short term thinking, right? You got to have them both. You can't afford to have short term thinking, like
Right.
Daniel would say commission breath, right? You can't afford to have commission breath because if you focus on that one commission, that one
Right.
deal, that one opportunity, then you miss the 20 other deals and the 20 other opportunities that should be coming at you because you're spending so much effort chasing the wrong thing. You know, when the thing that you should be chasing is waiting and going, hey, what about me? Did you forget about me? I'm interested. I'm excited. I want to play. Or I don't have time to play because I'm working on this one deal right now. People get caught in that all the time. Small businesses die from that
Hmm.
single thought alone. There's a reason why statistically 1 out of every 6 businesses will last more than 5 years. And what I think about is not the 1% that made it, or the one that made it. Think about the five that didn't.
Right.
Somebody put their house up to try to get this business going. Somebody put their retirement funds up to try to get this business going, and somebody is broke today
Mhm.
because they thought they had a good idea. They didn't do the market research.
Hmm.
They didn't build a team of advisors they should have built. They were focusing on, can I get a deal right now today? And they weren't focusing on what they need to focus on to actually think way beyond the moment that they're currently in. And I think that is the strategy that's born to lose all the time. There's nothing wrong with having a great strategy and a great plan, but and with great people, but I think we spend a lot of time thinking about other things that, like, okay, I get that we got to get the website up and we got to get operational doctrine and we got to get SOPs and we got to get, blah 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 blah. But in the getting of all that, if you don't get good people, then
Mhm.
what you'll have is something that can't be sustained.
Mhm.
It's just Marvin's philosophy. But we're talking about talent, and we really can't talk about talent without understanding that talent comes from people. Now, here's the thing about expertise. Expertise is earned through practice, training, mentorship, and the gift of someone else's time. Let me say that again.
Hmm.
Expertise is earned through practice, training, mentorship, and the gift of someone else's time. If you don't have practice, you're not going to get better. There's no way to get better. I don't care how good you are at something, you have to practice. If you think that Tiger Woods doesn't practice today, even, or anybody who's great at what they do, you got another thing coming. They still got to go to practice. All the great basketball stars, all the great football stars, all the great passionate people at anything or any skill and home and any expertise, they are continuing to hone their expertise through practice. Training. What do we mean by training? You're getting information and ideas from other places on purpose, whether it's reading books or taking classes or listening to podcasts like this podcast. For those who are going to be watching it later on, you know, this is a level of insight into the minds of some of the greatest people that I know. This is training. And there's mentorship. People get mentorship mixed up all the time. They think mentors are supposed to tell them what to do. I think the greatest gift of mentors is to share their stories with their proteges or mentees, whatever you want to call them, and share those stories and let them know the road that you took as a mentor and what helped you succeed, but also the failures,
Mhm.
the things that maybe you shouldn't have done. I have a protege. His name is Siobhan McFadden. You can look him
Hmm.
up. He's one of the sharpest young men I've ever had the pleasure of meeting and working through. And I met him when he was a young financial advisor, and I was a financial advisor at the time. And I promised him that I would mentor him. And we weren't in the same company, there was no formal program. It was just a calling for me that I thought I should spend time with this young man and I should teach him all the things, the very valuable lessons I learned as a result of failing and work with him in his cases as he was coming through very complicated financial cases and so on and so forth that he's working through. And we would sit down every week, him and I, go to breakfast over at Silver Diner right up the street from where I live. And we would work on it. We did this for like 5, 10 years. It was a long time. I can't remember because I'm horrible looking back. I remember the story, but the times I'm always gonna be bad about that. Siobhan might say we met for 15 years. I was like, really? It seemed like 5 to me. But anyway, as he rose up through the ranks and grew and grew, you know, he he began to outpace me. And then at that point I was like, okay, we got to stop meeting. Not because I was afraid of the competition or anything, is because I didn't think I had anything else to give him. And he was like, no, Marv, we got to keep meeting. I said, well, why? He said, because your perspective is helping me make better decisions in my right now, even though he's doing things that I could have only dreamed of, you know. And so I say this to say mentorship works even after the proteges surpass the mentor. And that's the greatest gift a protege could give to a mentor, is to take things further. Many mothers and fathers will tell their children, I want you to grow further than we went. I want you to grow. Aunties will tell their nieces and nephews, and cousins will tell their other cousins, you know, I want you to do better than I did. It's the gift of the young. That's the gift we can give to the younger generations, or even new people. By the way, it don't have to even be younger. It could be new people in the industries that we are captains of at this point. And even if we're not captains, this is the greatest thing, and I think Sandra will agree with me on this one. When you mentor someone else, it makes you better.
I agree.
And I found myself becoming an amazing financial advisor because I was preparing to help Siobhan become a better financial advisor. And it made me dig deeper and go harder and go faster. And I just made this link. I probably have been doing that all my life since back in those drill team days. Because yes, in fact, they did make me a better leader, you know, and it felt good, to be in command later on in other posts, because I could recall the challenges that we went through, and I could tell the stories to my new teams and my new people of how I work with people to overcome what they thought was insurmountable challenges before, and then we overcame them together, and it made such a big difference. And so no one can take that experience and that time from you once you've earned it, once you've had it. So that's the thing about mentorship that makes talent a multiplier or force multiplier. When you take the time and I would say, even if you're struggling, even if you're just like in Sandra's case, people who go with her in a mentorship program, you don't have to be a tech genius, you know, and be at the top of your game to help some other people elevate themselves. You just have to be caring enough and committed enough to receive the training on how to become a great mentor, right? And then execute that strategy, which is what I know her organization is all about. So, um, any thoughts on that, Sandra or Daniel?
I love the distinction between what a mentor is. I think a lot of times people hear the word. It's like in the English phenomenon. Sometimes we hear words for the first time, and whoever's giving you the word puts enough description around it to where you pick up what they're putting down. But sometimes, if you really go look at what the word truly means, you have a completely different perspective. And we live in a day and age where the sensationalization of words are is glorified in this way that entrepreneurship, mentorship, and it's like people just have this conception, and really when they buy into it, they're like, I'm not really getting, like, entrepreneur is not what I thought it was. They're supposed to be my mentor, and I'm not really, they're not telling me what to do. And it's like, it's because you never understood really what the word was. And so for me, I love that that's something, like you said, I do with my program. Is the biggest thing is people sharing their stories on it. That's it. That's the biggest part. We're giving them enough vocabulary word to understand the tech industry, but then sharing their story to inspire people. And I think that's what mentors do, really, is just inspire people to think differently about what they want to do. You shared a story last night about how you started your college career going into was it architecture,
Yes.
right? And who the person who you saw with that idea and that vision is because it was a story that you latched onto. You liked the idea and the storyline of the family, the beautiful home, have it, so but when you got into it, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not, this is, I still want that, but I'm not. So you had not seen enough people with different stories that said, I have different options, because that's the storyline of having a beautiful home, beautiful wife, kids. That could come in so many different ways. But if you only see one option of it, then you go for it because you think that's the closest thing to it. And I think the goal of mentors is to share their stories and to tell you what it is, and to meet people and say, okay, yeah, it's going to take this amount, or you're going to have to go through this, and here's what I went through. And the other thing I love when I'm in a mentor capacity is I tell everybody all the time, the best gift you could give me, you don't have to take me to dinner, or because true mentorship is not really an exchange of like money. It's really the exchange of time, which we talked about that, because that is so valuable. My thing with all of them is you need to pass me. Like there's no way, like if I'm your mentor and you don't surpass me, I don't think I've done a good enough job,
That's
because
right.
you have me. And there were things and mistakes that I made because I didn't have a me. That's why I'm here. And if you think this is great, like I'm here at a ceiling. And if I could get you up, I feel like it's like when the military, we had this thing where we had to like scale a wall. And if anybody knows, there's some people who could take off running, get a head start, and scale that wall with no problem. And those people takes off. But the real people who end up being the superheroes is getting everybody else across. And that whether that's everybody, one person getting down on the ground, another person stepping on that person's back, another person grabbing the person up and getting them across and getting them across, and then pulling the person. Typically, the person who's doing all that effort is the last person to scale the wall, right? And so to me, like that's the vision that I have, is like you should be able to surpass me, like 100%. So to me, I think if that's, you'll know the person's heart. If there's an opportunity where that person can be in a good position and you like, no, actually, I think I can be able to handle that. Got to check your intentions. Because if someone
That's right.
came and said, hey, there's a mentee, so and so, we're thinking about putting them in that position. And you're like, oh, well, I was trying to go for that position. Okay. Well, that's telling, right? So to me, I think that's what it's about, is sharing your story, helping people do better than you were. And again, part of that too, I think, again, in mentorship, is understanding like when you're playing the role of a mentor, but then it also should teach you how to behave as a mentee. So while I'm mentoring, I'm always looking for my next mentor. Like I don't think, oh, I'm a mentor, I'm mentoring, and so I'm amazing now and I don't need any more mentorship. No, I think I always say this, even a 5-year-old can mentor me, and I think that's one of the greatest gifts that children give adults. When a person decides to have a child, they now like learn a whole brand new, and different children will teach you different things about yourself as a human being, as an adult, as a parent, as an authority figure. So I love that even a 5-year-old can teach me something about myself, about the world that I never knew. So I never look at like age or sex or anything like that for what I can learn from somebody. Is I'm just hearing their opportunity to share a vision of how they see the world, and then take that, like, how can that help me be better in this world? And I think that's just what mentorship is all about. But again, those are the talents that we talk about that people can have. If you're just trying to exchange cash for some advice, then that is not a mentor. I'm not sure what that is. That's a trainer, right? Hope I
Awesome.
hope I didn't step on anybody's toes. But
No, no, you good. We good. We good. We good. Any thoughts, Daniel?
Hmm.
Are you there, Daniel?
Daniel's there, but he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen again.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
Okay, we're gonna let you work out your technical difficulties. As long as you're
Now
still
my mic
still
is going
smiling.
in and out, so
Okay.
This is internet.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but we're gonna have to work on that. Listen, I got a good friend who is chiming in the chat box, and I gotta let you know this is my boy Naftalia Boone. He says he agrees with the young woman.
Thank
Uh,
you. You
and
heard the key word, young.
Yeah, Natalia is Neftalia is a friend of mine. He's here in the Washington metropolitan area. He's got an amazing business and he is doing some phenomenal things. He's got a video that's coming out real soon. He's a self-made producer, director, creator of animations and all that kind of good stuff. I'm so proud of him. And I gotta shake. I guess a little bit of wisdom from Neff. Along with having a team, while true grit and determination to receive motivation and information apply, you can't apply it without ego. It's just you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it from a right point of view and a
Hmm.
right framework and a right frame of mind. Thank you so very much for that contribution, Natalia. Hope I know you got a busy day today. I know you back and forth. So and please, I'm glad you were able to log on, even if it's just for a few minutes, and enjoy spending some time with these talented group of people that I've assembled here. All right, next thing I want to talk about is really thinking about talent in a more mature way. You know, talent is something that it has to be nurtured, it has to be refreshed, it has to be challenged. Otherwise, it's going to decline, whether that's your talent or someone else's talent. And that's why I always tell people it's very, very important when you notice somebody is good at something, when you notice somebody is interested in something, when you notice that somebody is has a desire for something, don't discourage it.
Hmm.
Encourage it. Do what you can to feed it. Do what you can to help them refresh it. Remind them that this is a big part of who they are as a person. Challenge them to do more with it. So one of the coaching questions that I always ask, and I know I've asked both of you all these questions, if you had all the time and all the money and no barriers at all, what would you do with yourself?
Hmm.
And most people, when they answer that question, reflect back on those things that inspire them the most. That's the natural gifts, the natural God-given talent that they have and have experienced over time, and they know it. They know it because it's been validated by other people. You know, when they were a little one and they were doing some kind of dance or some kind of song in front of their family, everybody was like, "Oh baby, oh baby." They didn't get the other cousins didn't get that kind of feedback as much as the one who was the future Beyonce.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? And so when you find these young people or people in your career, in your industry, and they have done or said or created something amazing, please find a way to encourage them. Find a way, you know, and you don't have to always do public praise. I wrote a special training manual because I found this so lacking in organizations and in places where people work. They don't get enough appreciation. They don't get enough
Hmm.
pats on the back, attaboys, way to go. They don't get enough feedback from their peers or from the leaders or from anyone in an organization that will recognize the talent, the gift that they bring to the table. So I wrote a piece called the rap approach, and it's all about training leaders and team members to learn how to respect each other, give each other a proper amount of affection and the right type of praise. Respect, affection, and praise. And when you find that you have a culture in your organization where those things are overflowing,
Mhm.
you find an organization that has very low recidivism, very low um, incidents of people leaving and going to find a bigger and better opportunity. Even if they're going to get paid more money, they stay. And because it feels for them that they were in a place that's akin to family.
Mhm.
You don't leave your family,
Mhm.
you stay and you grow with them. And that's a world where we have taught people that in order for you to progress in your life, you got to bounce around. And in that bouncing around, what we've actually done is weaken them. In my this is just Marvin's philosophy. Now you have to understand, I got sociology in my background. And so I'm not just ever thinking about the money. I'm thinking about how it affects the groups, how it
Mhm.
affects teams, how it affects the people.
Mhm.
And when people are bouncing around from place to place to place to place, I know this because I lived a military life, right? It's hard to set roots in places and spaces where you're only going to be there for a minute.
Mhm.
It's hard to grow connections to people and places and spaces when you can't commit to that place in that space.
Very true.
And so you bouncing around, you bouncing around, you bouncing around, and you might collect some friends, but the friends and the depth of those relationships can't be what they were or would be if you all were deeply rooted in the environment, in the space, in the place. And that is such a meaningful part of life when you know that you have lifelong friends, when you know that you have people who are so-called ride or die
Mhm.
with you, because when it's all said and done, and you know,
Right.
um, we looking back on our lives, we want to be able to claim that we did something meaningful, incredible, and relevant, right? But at the same time, who's going to tell us that if we don't have anybody around us that has been a part of that experience with us?
Right.
Who's going to help share that? And one of the reasons I wrote the rap approach is because I wanted to develop a system, a strategy to help remind people to give each other their flowers while they live. And that's all throughout the program because I want people to remind people, don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till it's all over. Don't wait until, you know, you crying at somebody's gravesite going, I wish I could have told them this. And they never knew how much they really meant to me and da 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 da. Because then that's just guilt. That's just living with guilt. And that's the stuff that takes other people right into the grave with the person that they buried.
Mhm.
Because now they got guilt and they're carrying that around. And they got to figure out how to mitigate that. Then they go drinking. The next thing you know, they're carrying that around. Now they're alcoholic.
Mhm.
And it's a downward spiral. It's a downward spiral. And so it's super, super important that we learn. And I love the rap approach. I know that it's useful because I put all the neuroscience in the world in that thing. And I just think it's important for us to, when we find talent and find people who are gifted, we give them those flowers now. Oh, see, Daniel had to bounce. He had 11 o'clock. He had to go to. Okay, cool, cool. Any thoughts on that, Dr. Marie?
I love it. I love the rap approach. I think if a lot of for this particular conference, for me, this is now a tool that someone can put in their tool belt, right?
Mhm.
You can apply this across so many areas in your life. But if you really looked at the talent, it doesn't matter where the talent is starting off at. This is a great exercise to say, I'm going to put this tool into play. And again, like one of the things that I talk about is looking at your people and your resources and seeing, like, are you fully developing it? And what this is great because when you look at how you're dealing with your talent, if we go take a survey of the people who deal with the talent, do they respect the talent? Are they appreciating the talent? Are they singing their praises? Right. And I get it. Right.
I think I
It,
messed up. I'm sorry, and I got to fix this before you go
mhm.
on. Rap
Respect.
approach does is respect, affection,
Oh,
and
affection.
praise.
Okay.
I'm sure I said appreciation just now, so I want to correct that for everybody who might be listening. You
Okay.
know, it's about respect, affection,
And
and
praise.
praise.
Okay. Thank
And
you for that.
affection is a very, very complicated term
Hmm.
in the professional world,
Yes.
because we're scared of that. We're scared of actually showing that we care. We're actually afraid
Mm.
of, and we've been trained to be afraid because you got EEOC and you got compliance issues and you got regulatory stuff. And if you said this versus that, or if you were in the same room with the wrong person and you did the wrong thing and da 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 da, you know, you might be looking at a lawsuit, right? So everybody shies away from any type of intimacy for fear that it might be read or seen as unwanted advances,
Hmm.
or it might be generating some discomfort from the invading of personal spaces and all that kind of stuff. But you can find ways to be affectionate without any of that,
I agree.
right? You just have to be aware of the other person and
Hmm.
not just yourself.
Hmm.
Because some people are huggers,
Hmm.
right? I'm not necessarily a hugger, so I'm not going to be the first to go for the hug.
Hmm.
Because I'm not a hugger myself, but I will respond
Hmm.
because if I find somebody who's a hugger and they want to hug, then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be like, oh no, don't hug me, you
I
know,
see.
right? Because I'm not return. That's like a person who's trying to show some level of affection, but you refuse to return that affection because you want to be professional.
Yeah, it turns into rejection.
Exactly. Oh, that's a good one. We're stealing that one. I'm putting that in the rap approach rewrite.
Yeah.
Lack of affection turns into rejection.
Yeah. Hmm.
Woo!
It
You
does.
go, girl.
I'm,
You
I'm,
just help me.
I'm
You
listening
just
to
help me.
it
You help me
now.
rewrite that thing just now. Oh, when I do rap approach 2.5, I'm gonna have to put that. I'm gonna have to update it and put that. It's affection, not rejection.
Yeah. And I was talking about this the other day about affection is one of those things. Because I was going to ask you, as soon as you said it's not appreciation, it's affection, I was like, oh, I need a little bit more understanding around that. And you kind of
Right.
explained like how it's displayed and how it can be looked at. And my thing is, I have this thing about professionalism across it all, right?
Right.
Finding that balance of what I would do for the person I cannot stand in the room. Not that I can't, there's people I would not can't stand, but all the way to the person that I like. This is my best friend at the job, my
Right. Right.
work
Right.
wife,
Right.
work husband, whatever, like that level, right? And
Right. Right.
so I think if we just maintain professionalism across it, meaning what I tell my work wife, my work husband, is like I have to keep it fair. with even the person that like I don't really get along with this person. They like different music. I like different music. They care about we just see the world differently. We don't. I have to be a professional,
Mm.
and I think when I understand the rules of the organization, like I'm someone who loves to call everybody by their last name, but sometimes you get into an organization and their level of professionalism is first name basis. And
Right.
so I'm not going to fight the system, but if I want to stay here, I'm going to maintain that level of professionalism is doing that. Because if I'm like, well, I don't care, I'm still going to call everybody by their last name. I'm not being affectionate at that point. It's now I'm rejecting this social norm inside of this organization. And then it looks at as like, well, why won't you call me by my first name? Why? You bring conflict, right? And now people are feeling like, does that person not like me because they don't
Absolutely.
respect me, right? You know,
Sure, sure.
so finding out what the social norms of an organization and then maintaining that professionalism that's comfortable for you, you know. So I'm not gonna hug my work husband, work wife, because I'm not gonna hug the person that I don't like. But I'll come in, I'll say good morning to every single person in the office.
Right.
I will come on after lunch and be like, you okay? You doing good? To every single person. And that's me showing my affection, that I'm thinking about them, that I'm hoping that they are having a day that is conducive to them producing valuable work, and that they're feeling good. Right. So I think with affection, if people just keep it simple, just keep it simple. What are you willing to give every single person right now? That way, one person over the other can't say, well, I saw them doing this and they were having this, and that. Now you start getting yourself into trouble, right? And I tell, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I used to work with leadership, and I would hear about things coming, and I could not share it with anybody, like my besties at the job, and because I did not want to lose the trust with leadership coming to me and saying, you think on Friday we should do a pizza party? I know by Tuesday I'm ordering the pizza. But I can't, like, guess what? There's gonna be a pizza party. I can't even do that for my friends. I'm like, why you ain't tell us it was a pizza party? Why you? I cannot, because I have to maintain a level of professionalism. Yes, I love you. I want you to know, but I cannot get away from this part too. And I think sometimes people take that, well, since this is my bestie, I'm going to tell them things that I probably shouldn't tell anybody else, because I say, if you tell one, just know 2 or 3 know what's going on. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so I think affection, if you keep it simple, where no one feels rejected, no one feels any kind of way, and then they look at you as a professional, is just maintaining professionalism. And to me, HR is going to help you with that really, really well. You know, just being professional, I think people will feel respected, because then you could say, if someone says, well, like, you're not a hugger, if you versus rejecting someone when they try to give you a hug, you just say, hey, just in a workspace, I just keep that to a minimum. You know, I just don't want anybody, just, I want HR to make sure we good to go. And then everybody's like, oh yeah. Cause then they're like, oh, cool. I don't want them to feel any kind of way. So
Right.
I
Right.
always blame things on HR.
HR.
Uh, that's what it's there. It's a tool that is there to help you navigate these types of terrain. And
I
for
agree.
me, like, the way I'm going to show that I'm being affectionate is through HR policy. If HR says I have, like, there's all these policy changes that have happened in the recent years with how we use the restroom and
Yes.
what labels go on restrooms.
Yes.
And no matter how you feel about it, if HR has made a determination, you have to follow that and be professional about what HR has stated. If you don't
Right.
care for that, you need to go find another place that's more in alignment with where you are. So that's the
Right.
other thing with the affection. At this company, this organization, does their level of professionalism, is that cool with what I'm willing to provide affectionately, right? So
Sure, sure.
yeah, so I love that.
Right.
And I think that's the best way to look at affection in a professional setting. And affection
Mm-hmm.
is nothing more than boundaries, right? Because
Right.
HR comes to do what? Put boundaries around everything. Here's how far you can go to the left. Here's how far you can go to the right. And so even in a relationship, the amount of affection that someone is looking for from you, it's when boundaries get crossed that people feel violated, right? But when
Yep.
boundaries are respected, there's this beautiful thing that's happening inside of this affectionate space. If you don't feel like you're
Absolutely.
getting enough of that, then you don't want to play within the boundaries, and go find another organization or person to be with, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's my 2 cents on it. I love
I
it.
love that. I love that, and I so appreciate and respect that, and I think that there's a level of realism that you bring to this argument, right? Because when you think about it, we've all been told what a professional is. Some of us take that definition to this level, and some of us take that definition this level, right? And everywhere we work as human beings, when anything is subject to interpretation, you're going to have that. And so
Yes.
I'm reminded as a result of what you just said is an old quote that I got from somebody. I don't even know where it came from. That equal ain't fair.
Yeah, I agree.
And when you
Mhm.
try to treat people the same or equally, somebody's missing out somewhere on something. And I'll tell you, like the HR rule standard, right,
Mhm.
tries to move for equality,
Mhm.
neutrality,
Mhm.
and that works for larger organizations, the larger community, the nation kind of thing, national
Mhm.
policy.
Mhm.
But when it boils down to the individual, somebody always feels that they've been treated unfairly because those boundaries they don't want to live in, they don't want to be in.
That's them wanting to violate boundaries. That's just
Right.
the person who violates boundaries. Because
And
at
that's
the
a
end of
person,
the day,
but
you're
that
gonna go
person
to
will call,
HR is gonna resolve this.
but that
You-
same person will call themselves creative and innovative. They won't call themselves a violator. They will call themselves a passionate person. They will call themselves uh, a very uh, secure person in their thoughts and their feelings. And people who can understand that must be insecure.
That's great. But let's go to
So
HR
exactly. So when you go to HR and you have these discussions, and I've seen it happen to many people. You have these discussions, and they really care passionately about the very same things, except the one thing
now.
that they can't agree on, and this is what caused this little problems in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's really a discussion around acceptance and tolerance.
Mhm.
What can we reasonably accept and what can we reasonably tolerate? And can an organization dictate that for us?
Mhm.
I don't think so. I think the laws exist
Mhm.
to try to keep us somewhere in the middle, but nobody is actually in the middle. Everybody is actually either over here or over here when
Yeah.
it comes to almost everything.
Yeah.
And
But
there's no middle.
that's the social norms of
Social norms.
what's
That's what
the
we're
word
describing
of
right
it?
there.
When you come into an organization, there is the culture. There's a
Yes.
culture to it, right? You know,
Yes.
so again, like I said, if I've been working as an IT professional and
Mhm.
I have experienced this where I go and I produce IT, I was working at a police department. How the police department, their social norms, then when I went and started working for civil engineering as an IT person, It was a different culture, two different cultures. I was still operating as a tech professional, but the social norms were just different, right?
Right.
So the culture of, like I said, you could walk into one organization, everybody's on first name basis. Now in HR, the HR law will say it doesn't matter where you're working in the United States, you will, what is it? Acknowledge people in a professional setting, right? And that's it's just blanket, right? But the culture around here in organization A, everybody's first name basis, right? That's the civil engineering unit. Everybody's first name, they're on the
Right.
job, hammering things away, pulling electrical cables. Everybody's, hey Jim, pass to this. But you go to the police department, everyone's last name. Officer so and so, officers. You call an officer by their first name, you violated the culture, right? Because for them, that set of how we will address people in this organization in a professional manner means officer, insert last name. You go to this organization, how you will address people in a professional manner is first name basis only. And so when you walk into an organization and you're understanding the culture, you have to make a decision on, is this something that feels good to me where I can live here? If I want to fight the social norms of it because policy says professionally address people, if I don't feel comfortable on the first name basis, I'm not going to feel comfortable in that organization regardless. I need to go find another location where I feel comfortable. Yes, I'm going to do IT for the police officers because everybody, like, that's my tribe. Everybody gets it. Everybody's last name here. So that's the thing about, like, at some point, your level of affection, you have to look at what you're willing to tolerate, like you said, tolerate in that experience. But I can't feel special, like, no, you guys will call me by my last name, or telling the police officers, no, it's call me by my first name, because now, yes, you want to be special, but at some point you're creating friction in a community that now you're becoming an outlier, and now your affection is not appreciated.
And that's exactly where I think you and I agree on this completely. I think that culture
Mhm.
is something that HR could never regulate. It could never really adequately regulate it,
Right.
because the culture is the heartbeat, is the character, is the personality of an organization.
Mhm.
That's expanded in a collective way, beyond the individual. And so what HR again tries to do is decide the norm for everybody,
Mhm.
but the culture for every organization, especially the smaller ones, is so deeply rooted into who they are.
Mhm.
Think of, and I work with tons of businesses who are emerging, which meaning they're moving from little tiny businesses to much bigger businesses. They don't have no HR policy
Right.
when they're little tiny businesses. They don't have an HR manager. They don't have no HR department. They don't have none of that. Now, then what happens, and I've seen it happen over and over and over again, they become larger businesses. They hire an HR director.
Mm-mm.
Person comes in with all these rules and regulation and all these policies and so on and so forth. Even the original owners of the business are like, what?
You doing too much.
This is gonna cost us a lot in terms of our workspace and our
Mhm.
workplace and how we feel about coming to work, because
Mhm.
now this ain't fun anymore.
Right.
This
Hmm.
is a regulation that we gotta. You just We used to have a wonderful, night of drinks and stuff like that, when we go out and turn up, and now you coming in here with these policies. We can't flirt with one another. We
That's
can't,
my
we
work
can't,
wife. That's my work husband. What
we
you
can't
mean?
get our
I'm
drink
just
on
there.
here. We can't do nothing that used to be fun. This is no longer
Mhm.
familiar.
Right.
This is now abnormal and alien to us.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
And and that is I think a problem that the rap approach
Solve.
begins to help solve.
Hmm.
Because it, again, we want appreciation,
Hmm.
we also need affection.
Hmm.
That's why I put affection in there. I knew it was controversial when I put it in there because I was like, oh God, I mean HR people are gonna flip out. Like, oh no, no affection in the
No,
workplace.
no,
Because
no.
that's what we do with things that we don't know how to appropriately handle. We just reject it all outside. That's like a social that's what we do in society. Like, oh my God, we don't know how to handle this. Oh, let's just not do it at all. That way we don't gotta worry about it. Let's just cut that. We don't know what to do. That happened. The military did this. Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah,
You know what? Since we don't know how to handle it, we're just not
that,
going to talk about it,
that's great. Don't
right?
ask, don't tell.
Right?
But if
But
you tell
now,
us, we're gonna kick you out.
right
What? What?
now, what did that do to the hundreds of thousands of service men and women who had to deal with people that they kind of knew were gay?
Mm-hmm.
They ain't never say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Can they not talk about it?
Well, you're not allowed to ask,
What are they part? How do you talk about it without asking?
and you're not allowed to tell.
And how do you not talk about something that's integral to your character and your personality? How do
Yeah.
you not share that
But if I
and
say,
and then exist in a
yeah,
space where you want people to respect you?
it's that now that culture has changed.
Right.
The culture has changed.
The point is it never should have been a policy in the first place
Yeah.
because it was an impossible policy. But
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
don't think about human beings when they create these policies.
Yeah.
They think about liability
Yes.
when they create these policies. They don't think about, you know, um, how people actually have to live and exist in this space because you still want people to respect each other.
Yeah.
But now let's go. And this is where I'm going to go a little bit too detailed, but I'm going to do it because this is me. It's my show. So,
And you do what you want to
um,
do.
it's so when we think about respect, and I'm not one of these, let's deal with the definition of a word and stay on the definition. I understand that there are variable interpretations of any word, but
Mm-hmm.
the definition of respect is to honor
Mm-hmm.
and or to adore someone for something you have witnessed them say or do.
Okay.
How do we respect someone that we don't know?
You don't.
You can't. And if a person can't even be themselves in a space where we work with them, they want respect. We want to give them respect, but we don't know them. And we
Mm-hmm.
can't know them because they can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's impossible for them to feel a level of belonging.
Right.
Because they hiding.
Yeah.
They in the closet. They
They don't
supposed
feel
and
respected.
it's
Yeah.
demanded that they stay in the closet.
Right.
It's impossible for them to be respected. And therefore it's impossible for them to be appreciated. And therefore it's impossible for them to feel like they belong. And so you can't accept a person but not accept a person at the same time. These things don't go together. you know, this gets me waxing in philosophical Marvin, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
point is, you have to be careful with culture. Culture is not something that you can litigate. It's not something that you could normalize. It is what it is as a result of how the people who are in it experience it, express it, deliver it, and play with it. And if we want policies at work that are culturally acceptable and culturally adaptable and culturally flexible, then we got to be honest about what the culture is.
Yes.
and not be afraid of it if it wants to wear shocking red hair,
Hmm.
or if it wants to have a bone in their nose or whatever they put in their nose these days, or, or
Hmm.
whatever that is, or tattoos or scars or whatever they do. So is you back? Is somebody back in there? Somebody, is that you,
That's me.
Sandra?
I just
Okay.
need to.
All right.
I'm going off camera just so I can
Okay.
plug up my laptop
So
here.
I can still hear you, by the way.
Yep.
Um,
Back.
so we were talking about that. We're talking about um, talent and how talent is expressed and how talent can be leveraged.
So can I just say
And
one quick thing about the
go for
culture?
it. Hmm.
My personal opinion is with culture and HR when they collide, especially when you're in a growing space. What I've learned with authorizing systems is we have to build a system based on your needs. And so, yes, we have a set of regulations on how systems will be built. But if we build a system based on regulation, then it no longer serves that organization because that's just not how they operate, right? That's just
Right.
right. So, what has worked really, really great is first understanding what the organization needs,
Hmm.
and then looking at the HR regulations that are higher up. There,
Hmm.
when with regulations, there are these magical words, and we start talking about legalese. Is must. Must is a must.
Right.
Should
Shall.
is a shall. Okay.
Right.
Should, may,
And
authorize to, right?
right.
These words, a lot of times HR will make these words bigger than the must and the shalls, right? And it's
Right.
not like that. So a lot of HR rules are very flexible to meet the demands of the culture, right? And I think
Yes.
that's where when HR and culture do not sit down in a room together, but you hit it on the nail just as the last bit. A, a organization must first be honest about who they are and what their culture is. Yes, we go drinking every Friday night. We do this, da da da. Great. What are the rules that says that's allowed or not allowed, or how to navigate that?
Right.
I'm gonna say there's not a lot of HR rules from a national level that says you can't go drinking, right? Now, how you pay for it because of taxes, that can be factored in there. But for a lot of
Sure.
times, there's nothing illegal about an organization going out on a Friday night when you clock out to, but HR will say, oh, after hours is frowned upon. It's frowned upon. That's all. We'll turn that frown upside down because that's what we do here at this culture, right? We just ask that you're not on the clock, you're not billing, you
Right.
put those rules around it, right? You
Right.
don't end the day early, right? And we ask, not a must, that you still maintain your level of professionalism
Sure.
and still adhere to outside laws outside of this door that says don't drink and drive, don't sexually harass someone, don't sexually assault someone, don't belittle someone, right? Those are like, we ask that you just still maintain and just remember we are a family, right? When you say family, it's right? So HR isn't doing that. A lot of times a company that's growing comes in and says, what are the rules? And HR says, well, okay, here for this state and this locale
Right.
principality, here are the rules. But they are, my favorite thing to do with any system is tailor. You come in there, you look at the rules, and you pick the ones that fit the organization, that fit the culture, and you tailor. There, when you first tailoring, the first thing you go get is all the musts, all the shalls. Boop, there's nothing we can do about that. And those are very, very far and few because to maintain them and to actually bring them to a legal, you have to have so much proof that it's been violated, and then you need more proof on top of that. So an organization really don't, and again, it's not that many. After that, yeah, here's how we'll do with all this other stuff. And an overall blanket, just respect people, right? Just respect people. treat people with, what is the golden rules? Every HR will say at the end of the day, keep the golden rules,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
it's not happening. And I think that's a level of, people not respecting the talent these days and teaching them how to be good reps, not, and people not knowing that they have the authority as an organization to tailor HR roles and responsibilities. And to those
Absolutely.
people, like the special snowflakes, as we used to call them, the ones who just kind of want to do their own thing, that's because they have been in an organization and in another culture that understood that, and they felt
Hmm.
good and respected, and they were operating and bringing a value, that when they come to a new
Absolutely.
organization, they're like, why is this not happening? What do you mean I can't do that? We did that at my last job. And it's just like, well, we don't do that here. Again, you who are getting paid for that have to make that decision on whether or not you should stay there in that organization or
I
not.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree with you 100%. I remember, I think that's probably why you asked that question last night. Like, where's the line
Mm-hmm.
when you say, this is too much, I can't do this no more, I gotta go, I gotta bounce.
Right.
And how do you find that line? Because that line could be fudgeable.
Mm-hmm.
It could change day to day. know, you know, so you got to be really careful about that. That's why I'm big about your community, your team, your people, and making sure you have your counselors, your mentors, your friends, your coaches, your therapist if you need it. Where people are, you can bounce your ideas off of other people that
Mm-hmm.
matter, right? And then come up with those conclusions based on your tribe. What does your tribe say?
That's so fair.
And at least weigh that in before you make a decision. Because if you're making decisions in a vacuum,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be just like I was, thinking I want to be an architect because I saw a character on television,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but I didn't have my tribe built who
Mm-hmm.
knew anything about the space that I was thinking about going into. So I
Yeah.
built my hopes and dreams from junior high school
Mm-hmm.
all the way up through 5 years of college experience on a thing that I had no clue about and no direction or guidance from people that I have respected
Mm-hmm.
enough to kind of understand that this is not my character, it's not my personality, it's not my style, and ultimately it would be fun to have great buildings all over the country that I know I had a hand in putting together or designing or building and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun because my ego would be really, really happy about that. But I'm more excited about the people that I got to build
Yeah.
than I am about those buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't miss the buildings
Mm-hmm.
because I got thousands of people whose lives and businesses I've impacted.
Good.
You get what I'm saying? And but you just reminded me of the fact that it's all fudgeable.
Yes.
It's all, and the key to that is understanding the nature of flexibility when it comes to talent.
Yep.
And the core rule for me is always look for the gifts.
Mm.
Always look for the gift in every person. Whether you like them or don't like them, what is it that they bring to the table that you can respect? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a challenge, right? Because some people rub you the wrong way and you don't want to look any further than the thing that they did that rubbed you the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But I would suggest for everyone, think a little deeper because this is a human being that you're judging. And let's just say you suspended your judgment for a second and looked a little deeper into their character. Is there something about them that's redeemable? Is there something about them that you can have some level of respect? And understand, respect is honor and adore. They did something, they said something at some level that if you tried, you could find a way to respect that about them. Now, if you can't, you can't. If you've done your job, you've done your best, and you can't come up with something to respect them on, then okay, that is what it is. Put them on in the ignorant box or the evil box or whatever box you want to put them in. Keep you safe from them and their exploits, right? And move on. But if you have done what you can do to try to open up a dialogue, ask the right questions,
Mhm.
um, listen, and try to have some level of understanding, then I think that you can move on. But if you haven't, you need to do that.
I
You need
agree.
to do that because, and this is about the African American experience. We get put in the box too much.
Yeah.
We get stereotyped so much, and we've had to respond to those stereotypes
Hmm.
so much
Yeah.
that we got a callous sometimes, a thickening of that environment. So you throw us in an environment where people disrespecting each other, we can survive that a little better, a little longer than those who have never felt that sting of, isolation, or maybe somebody hasn't said the wrong thing about you or whatever that is. We can kind of we kind of deal with that at least outwardly better, but inwardly we're still affected,
Hmm.
and it still stacks up on our health and our wellness and our ability to go face our family.
Hmm.
When we've allowed someone else to step on us like one too many times, we can't even share that with our friends and family and cousins because they're gonna be like, "You stupid! What you doing? How you tolerating this? Did you get
Or
them? Did you bring out a knife?"
or that's it. That's all they said to you. That's all they
Yeah.
did.
Oh my God. Oh
You acting
my
like
God.
that. Let me give you my Trump story. Let me Trump one on you. It's like at my last job, it's like
You're right. You're right. You're right.
everybody handles different stressors differently,
Right.
and you know, yeah, you
So
know.
that's why try to spend most of my time encouraging people,
Mhm.
encouraging myself and encouraging others, specifically for this talent piece. If I see you got a gift in something, if I see you are good at something, if I notice that this is something that in you're a person that's in my circle, oh, you getting all the praise. You getting all the glory. Everything I possibly can share with you, because
Mhm.
not just as I want you to do that, because I want you to recognize in yourself this gift that you have and how special it is, how important it is that you keep on it,
Mhm.
that you keep honing it, you keep focusing it, you keep sharing it. And I'm gonna try to provide the platform if I can
Right. Yeah.
for you to expose that gift and that talent. Because if you don't have that exposure, then you're not going to develop the trust that you need to develop. You're not going to be able to find your next tribe
Right.
because they can't nobody see you that needs to see you.
Mhm.
Because you stuck behind a computer screen somewhere in somebody's company. You feel me? So anyway, that's talent. Talent needs to be nurtured. It needs to be appreciated. It needs to be, the final word we're going to say on that was when collective talent is needed to create leverage, leaders have to ask the question, what do I do when the situation requires developing new talent? And how do I attract, recruit, and retain the best people? In order to do any of that well, you got to know, first of all, who you are as a leader. Second of all, what you're providing to the culture of your organization and what
Mhm.
that culture is.
Mhm.
People get involved with jobs and careers and opportunities all the time, and they don't know what they're getting themselves into before they get in.
Right.
They know what it looks like,
Mhm.
and then they make all these assumptions about what it is. What happens if people show people exactly what this is so they can make informed decisions
Mm.
about should they be in this thing? Should they? Then there might guess how many times people go to HR with an issue when they know the decision that they made and they're happy with the decision. So back to the example I gave you earlier. Yes, the colonel asked me to lead this team, but he made the choice mine.
Mhm.
So I chose to get off the varsity team to go lead the freshman team.
Mhm.
And I own the responsibility for that choice. Now, had I been resentful, or had I been mad, or had I been upset about this, you know, um,
Completely different outcome.
how many times are people getting a promotion because they want money but not leadership?
Yeah. So,
How many times are people elevating their business again because they want success, but they don't have an understanding of what the costs of that success are going to be to themselves and their lives. So now they receive the success, they don't know how to handle it.
hmm
How many stars we know about took their own life because they didn't understand what they were actually getting themselves into.
yeah.
They thought they were just an actor, just a singer, just a sports star or whatever that was. And they were just doing that thing.
hmm
They didn't know that came along with people hounding you all the time. And, you know, because no, nobody in their younger years and their formative years sat them down and prepared them. This is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to experience. Do you want this level of isolationism in order to protect your privacy? Or are you just going to be open, signing autographs everywhere you go, taking photographs everywhere you go?
Yep.
Do you know? So we not do a good job of orienting people into the experiences that they're going to have to deal with when success happens.
hmm
So it's a shock. So anyway, I'm get off my soapbox and move on to the next topic. The next topic is we went through time, we went through talent. It's time to talk about treasure. There's a reason why I saved treasure for last. Because when we talk about leverage, we usually talk about leveraging money,
hmm
leveraging some kind of financial resource. And I think we give the other parts of that argument and that discussion short shrift. So I put time and talent first
hmm
because I actually think they're more important because
Interest.
money is much easier to leverage.
hmm
You know,
Yes.
stuff that's of meaning of value is much easier to leverage. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't discuss it just because it's easier. Because it's still hard. You understand what I'm saying?
hmm
So when you think about treasure, you got to think about it in a myriad of ways. And let me just post this in the chat so others who are paying attention can read along at some point. Um, when I think about treasure, I think about it as a multiplier of value. It's not just money, it's anything of value that you can invest, that you can contribute, um,
hmm
anything that you can do, anything of value that you can have in abundance, that you can share. If you do it well, it creates more value.
hmm hmm
And so when you think about treasure, it includes what people welcome and what people want more of. People always want more tangible value. Why? I don't know. Why we need more money, why we want more money, why we want more stuff, why we like more
Society
things.
says that. Society says you are successful based on how much commas you have in your bank account.
Right. We also think about what we pay attention to. We
Mhm.
tend to pay attention to the glossy, the gleamy, the big, the nicer, um, higher brands. We tend to pay attention to those things. And there's also what we then protect and prioritize.
Mhm.
This is all included in the definition of treasure. What we want and welcome, what we pay attention to, what we protect, and what we prioritize.
Mhm.
Now, when you think about it from a leadership point of view, what I would suggest that leaders ask themselves, if you truly want to understand the value of the people that you work with, the teams that you, it's not just what you think they're worth, it's what they think they're worth as well. And so when you're assessing that value, you should include a few things. And that assessment should help you deal with a couple questions. And here are the questions. What is the true value of each of my team members? Now, this is one of those measurements that's difficult, but not impossible. But people tend to short shrift it and go, well, what's the market suggest that they're worth? All right. And they go, okay, um, what is the average salary of this person in other companies and so on. And then they make their adjustments based on what they think average salaries are of the people need for to do the certain jobs and so on and so forth. And they always get it wrong. You know how I know they always get it wrong? Because nobody feels like they're getting paid what they're worth, right? No matter what the company does to assess, how much, and if they haven't given a, inflation is always a thing. What is the inflatable adjustable value for inflation over time by what I should be getting this year and next year? Everybody wants more all the time, right? The second
Mhm.
thing you got to ask yourself as a company leader is what assets do we possess that others might need? Because sometimes you have stuff that is more than you need, which oftentimes gives you an opportunity now to leverage. You don't want to leverage off of the valuable things, assets, and people, whatever that you need, but the things that you kind of laying around, people, stuff. You got too much. You got 15,000 computers and you only need five. Can you leverage that? Can you somehow figure out a way to leverage that to create more opportunities somehow, some way, somewhere else?
Mhm.
You probably can. This is why most organizations, when they've out their old technology, they don't resell it. They just give it away. They donate it
Mhm.
because the tax deduction that they get for the donatable value of the thing is more valuable than if they could resell it.
Mhm.
Or even worse, throw it away. It's just given on any type of value. And they actually sometimes you got to pay to throw stuff away, which is I think a ridiculous notion. Like I got to pay for junk, but hey, that's that's neither here nor there. But
You're paying
that's
for security.
whatever.
Listen, I don't make the rules.
Now the other value part of this is how do we convert our collective skills and talents
Mhm.
into greater returns? And that gets to the question we were talking about earlier today. Is the sum of the whole worth more than its parts?
Mhm.
So when we start looking at a team, right? A team can create a level of value that's much higher than the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Michael Jordan might have been the most expensive player on that Bulls team, but collectively,
That was a
he
force.
could never could create
Mm-hmm.
what they created,
Mm-hmm.
right? That value, you took the whole Bulls of, I think, 1991, 92, somewhere around there. You took them to a bank and said, what is this value versus the value of one Michael Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
They would tell you he's worth a lot less without them,
Right.
a
Right.
lot less
Yeah.
without them. And so the point of that discussion is within every team, the dynamics are the same if it's a winning team, right? Now, this goes back to our cultural thought earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a culture that produces winners, you nurture, you protect that culture, you die for that culture
Mm-hmm.
in your organization. But if you have a team culture that has cancer in it, right? You
You
have
got to
a
cut out
couple of
the cancer.
a couple of choices with
Yeah.
cancer, right? You got to cut it out, or you got to spend so much time, effort, and energy to deal with it that
Mm-hmm.
you're losing opportunities to do other things,
Yep.
opportunity costs. And so you got to ask yourself and assess what is
Right.
the health, what is the cultural health, and and how does that add to the value of the we as a team? Now, I don't want to get on my Sigma high horse, but as a Phi Beta Sigma man, we're the only one of our organizations who focus on the collective we. It is a part of our expression of who we are as an organization. We say to ourselves and to the world, we are an inclusive organization. As a result, we can be the first to accept Africans into our organization. We're the first to accept white people, Asian people, Hispanic people, into our organization. Um, Probably very open to people who have gender differences and not gender differences, but sexual orientation differences and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to be a man, whatever definition of manhood is, you got to fit that minimum definition,
Mm-hmm.
or you can't get in.
Yep.
But we're not an exclusive group. We pride ourselves on not being an exclusive group, although we are educated. But that's where we draw the line. Do you have that education or not? You don't have the education, we can't play with you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the education,
Come on in.
we can work.
Right.
Right. You working on the education. Let's go.
Yep.
You can be a part. Other than that, you're a man, you're educated. We're not going to discriminate against you for any of those things. And that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when that's in the culture of an organization and you're a person that can identify with that kind of culture, you'll fit right in.
Mm-hmm.
But now if you're a person who wants to be like, I don't like these people, and I don't like these people, and I can't work with these people, and I can't get along with these people, you ain't gonna fit with an organization whose culture is going to be
This is it.
inclusive,
Yep.
open,
Yeah.
listening, all these things. You're not gonna fit.
Yep.
You're not gonna feel like you belong. It's
Right.
impossible.
Right.
It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can do whatever you want to do to try to fit yourself into the brand of that organization, but you're never really going to be there.
You're not going to be happy long term.
Right.
Right.
And that goes back to, when you talk about value as a group, as a team, as individual, if you go to spaces where you're not valued and demand to be valued, that don't work. That dog don't hunt,
Oh,
right? So you
mhm,
have to figure out how to either change those spaces, and that's a long, hard fight and sacrifice, and you got to be willing to sacrifice
mhm.
for that, or change yourself,
Right.
which is also deeply difficult and hard to do.
Right.
You know, again, a perfect example of that, and my wife and I were talking about this last week. There's a no swim culture in the Black community. Very difficult to break when you tell people you can't wear that little rubber hat that protects your head and all that kind of stuff, but we want you to swim. You're not getting that over on a lot of Black mamas who got to put their babies in the pool after they just got their hair did. It's just not going to happen because they just spent a lot of money on that process and procedure, and then you dropping the little children in the pool. That ain't gonna go. And so
Yeah.
what happened? These people don't learn to swim.
Yeah.
They don't like swimming. They don't enjoy swimming. They don't learn to swim. Nobody promotes it in their household. They're like,
Mhm.
oh, you want to swim? Ooh, child, you ain't never gonna have no hair.
Mhm.
You're never gonna have, you can't do it the way you would want to do it
Mhm.
because it's gonna be wet. And
Yeah.
what happens when it's wet? Africa does what Africa does when it's wet.
And
You
it's
know.
not even that too. Like, it's also the chemicals in the water. It's
Yep.
not, it'd be completely different if we were swimming in the sea where it's
Mm-hmm.
just salt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
putting someone in that type of harsh, it's a chemical.
Yep.
And again, Black women are putting chemicals that's doing different things to their hair, changing their hair, the texture. That chemical is changing their hair texture. So there's a lot that they have, like they have to wear that protective cap to help minimize the amount of chemicals that's actually going into their hair that's stripping and damaging their hair.
Right.
In the same way, other cultures, they're able to go and rinse that chemical right off their hair. Our hair is absorbing the chemical in a different component. It's just chemistry. And
I
so,
get I get the science behind it. We
yeah,
didn't get the science behind it back in the day. We
right.
now know the science behind it, but it's
Hmm.
still a part of the culture. And the point
Hmm.
is that we're like we're not running to that water. We-
No. So now
We're
we have
not
to
running
change the culture, right? Like
right.
it's
And in order
impossible.
to change the culture, there's a tremendous education
Yeah,
that goes into that. That a person has to spend the time
yeah,
to deal with. I'm like, wait a minute, we got a lot to do here. We got to feed these people. We got to house these people. We got to move these
hmm,
people around, get them to school, get them to this, that, and that. Now, there's one more thing you want to do? No. The answer is no.
hmm,
We find the way we are,
hmm,
you know, and that's what happens with culture of all types. It is hard to change a culture. When you do change a culture, it's hard to resist even changing back vis-a-vis our abortion laws in this country today.
yeah.
We thought that argument was over.
I thought it was.
Our diversity, equity, inclusion laws today. We thought that argument was over.
Yeah.
Our voting laws today. We thought that argument was over. But again, culture is difficult to change. And even if we can change the rules, we can't necessarily change the culture
Hmm.
as easily as we can. So we tend to want to go for rules. That's a short term solution, but it's never a long term solution. Because if we don't change the culture, mm, them rules don't matter. Mm. When it comes to value, right? We're talking about value. What's valuable?
Hmm.
And it has to become valuable to the culture because before it's valuable, and we can take it to the bank and go, this is valuable.
I agree.
Unfortunately, you know, um, again, short term, we get away with all kinds of little tricks and little tips and little shifts, but long term, it always snaps back to what the culture is going to want to have.
Yeah.
There's a saying, culture eats something for lunch. I don't know what the saying it's well, I forget the saying in terms of its actual literal context, but it really means cultural is so strong that no matter what you do, cultural is going to eat it. It's going to take it out. And so you got to be really careful when you're talking about change that it's not deep enough to change the culture.
And can I
Because
add with culture, if culture is rooted,
strategy, culture eats strategy for lunch. I'm sorry.
no,
Go ahead.
yes, indeed, indeed. If you build a culture that's built on respect, like we said, the golden rules, it won't even matter what rules come about. If she's just, it'll be like, oh, okay. I always say to my team when I'm working with a group of individuals who's under my leadership is we don't have to worry about a bunch of things. We don't have to worry about new leadership coming in, bringing in new this, new that. You don't have to worry about that because if you're doing what's right, you don't have to worry about anything. So just always be doing what's right. Always do the right thing. And when someone comes in and they, like if we notice people who are taking extra long lunch breaks, if we know we get an hour, take your hour. So if someone comes in and say, hey, we're noticing this, lunch is an hour now, you have nothing to worry about, right? Culturally, if everybody just, oh, we're going to take an hour and a half for lunch because it takes 15 minutes to get there and I need to be there for, but that's not the law. That's not the rule. So if you build
Hmm.
a culture that already does not respect like just the norms, if it's 1 hour, 60 minutes, and you're violating that and you're doing more than that. But so if someone comes in and they say, no, we're going, you know, how dare that person come in and say 1 hour lunch breaks will be 1 hour lunch breaks? How dare they? Right? Because the culture around here is go to lunch when you feel like it, come back when you feel like it. That's the culture. But that's not the right thing. That culture is not respecting the rules, right? So
Right.
I get one thing about culture, but culture has to be still be based on build a culture that's based on the right things. You'll never have a problem no matter how the rules come from above. You'll be in a really good place. People typically have a problem with culture and rules is like I really the only people who are complaining is when people are asking you to follow a rule.
Oh,
All of
absolutely.
a sudden it's a problem. Oh,
Oh
they're
my
coming
God.
in. They're changing everything. Oh, they're changing everything. What do you mean? They're just asking you to do the right thing. They're just
Listen,
asking you to do the right thing.
I, if you want to see people get shaken up, just throw a new regulation at them. Any new regulation. They're gonna ask you who's the authority on this and where did it come from and where did this how can we do this and who has the nobody can tell us this, that, and the other. And that's one of the things I love about America.
Mhm.
We think we actually really free.
Which America are you
Therefore,
talking about? Because there's so many
they,
different Americas.
no, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
'Cause,
But in general, people leave other cultures, come here because they think for some reason there's more freedom here.
there is.
And I would agree to a certain level that there is. But I also agree that we all fall under the oppression of the culture in
Yes,
America, you
sure.
know, and we don't necessarily understand that oppression until we experience it.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait a minute, are we free? What are we really free to do?
I mean, you again, that's that law and the culture, right? It's like in one country,
Boundaries.
if you steal, they chop your hand off,
Right.
right? Here, if you steal, you go spend a couple days inside jail. So it's like,
That
yeah,
means if you get caught.
if you get caught,
Right.
right? If you get caught, you're getting your hand chopped off in this country. You're going to do jail time in this country, right? So in that level of like, yes, everyone knows stealing is wrong, but where would you like to get caught stealing?
In America.
Right? If you're a bad person, you want to do a bad thing, you
Right.
might want to come to America
Right.
because
Because
the
at
culture
least
is yes,
you get three hots in the cot.
that's right.
You ain't got to worry about being homeless or nothing. You can just be. You ain't gotta
You
worry
know,
about
and
nothing. Yeah.
that a lot of homeless people, you know, when they have nothing else, the first thing you do, they go do is go rob a place because they know they have a
Right.
place to spend the night for the next couple of days, right? Because they know in America that's what's going to happen, right? And then they could do that for a couple of years, get on their feet, and then become the next Tyler Perry, right? Because you can do that in America. That's the culture here. You go in another culture, if someone even thought you did something wrong, that's the end of who you are and the value you bring to that community for life. You've shunned your family. You will never amount to anything. It doesn't matter. Like you are not going to get get opportunities. You're not even going to be able to create opportunities for yourself, right? So it again, it's part of the culture here in the United States that yes, we have the rules, but how we go about allowing people to redeem themselves and feel valuable in this society is more nurturing in that aspect. Other countries are just very rigid. It is this or that. But yes, if you're but in those same countries, if you're doing the right thing, you're gonna feel more free than feel in America.
Absolutely.
How do you want to
Absolutely.
approach it?
I love it. I love it. And I
Mhm.
love the way you expressed that just now. That's just fantastic. We're going to get to the bottom line of this whole entire discussion in a few seconds.
Great.
We're going to have some final thoughts from our wonderful panelists, and
Okay.
then we're gonna close this out and have the rest of our Saturday to go have a good time. So here's the bottom line: leverage is the great amplifier. It's how you turn what you have into what you need. It's how you transform effort into impact. It's how you scale your leadership, your influence, and your results. If you master leverage, you don't just work harder, you work smarter, faster, and bigger. Now, we talk about this and deal with this all the time in keynote presentations, in workshops, modules, um, all kinds of things that we do for leaders all over the world. If you need some thoughts, some ideas, some help with putting together your presentation or your thoughts about leverage, you can come to us. And, I think I usually have my information scrolling on the bottom of the screen. For some reason, I don't have it there today because I'm not good at my job because I'm tired and my brain isn't functioning. But
You can put it in there now. It's never too late.
I'm trying, but I don't even see it. They gonna change my little thing around here. StreamYard is you. I used to love StreamYard, but now they don't. They're not my friends anymore because they just move stuff around. You know how people upgrade the user interface of things and they don't tell you they just upgraded it. Not they told me. I just did not pay attention. So I'll figure that out later. But if you want to contact me, 703-201-4267. That's 703-201-4267. I'll be there for you. Any last and final thoughts about leverage, Dr. Sandra Marie?
I I just thought today was great. I definitely have so many tools that I can use and implement right away. Um, so I'm just thankful for this today. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and um, just the breakdown of the time, talent, treasures, and just the different, like the rap methodology. And just, I think all that is great. So I'm definitely in my mind thinking about how I'm immediately going to put this into practice. Yeah, so thank you. I've learned a
Phenomenal.
lot.
And thank you for sharing your insights, for participating. I'm a big believer that iron sharpens iron. And I have to say, you absolutely did a great job today. I feel better. I feel like I'm growing. Like, oh, it's a great, great, great. It's a good idea. I always like it when I get, some of our sharper leaders on with me to talk about these things. And you are definitely amongst the best. So I appreciate you
Thank you.
um, and all that you bring to the table. And with that, I'm gonna put you backstage. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna close out the show. That's the show, guys. Hope you had a great time. This is going to be captured, it's going to be recorded, and it's going to be doable. We're going to edit it a little bit, and then we're going to play it back for you at a future date. So if you missed it, don't believe you missed it. You just missed it this time. And so this is the Leverage Up. This is the Leverage Up experience, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Um, Bye now.